Great, thank you, Ben. Good to have you here today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity Church of Ames on this nice October morning. And I'm Steve Noel. I'll be your platform assistant today. Chaplain today will be Liz White. And so Prayer Chaplain is available to pray with you during the time from 11:30 to 11:50, right after the service in the prayer chapel room right over there to the right. And coffee and treats after the service in the community room just around the corner there from the Invocation Hall, and everybody is certainly invited to that. We always have plenty of cookies for everybody. All right, so now we're on to opening prayers, and so if everybody would just get themselves comfortably situated, align those chakras, take a deep breath in, relax for a moment, get yourself centered, and we'll begin with the invocation. Almighty Source, God the good, omnipotent, we give thanks this day. We give thanks this day for each and every one that we meet in the course of this day. We give thanks for the opportunity of this day. We know that it is a unique day, and it is the first day of the rest of our lives, and there will not be any other day exactly like today. In the Buddhist tradition, the emphasis is on appreciating the here and now and being fully present to the here and now. Not to have too much attachment, preoccupied with the history of things that have happened before, or who said what when last week, or who is it that I'm still mad at today. Just kind of let all that attachment go, and instead a fresh breath and just being in the flow, the great cosmic flow, and seeing each face anew, appreciating each as a unique creation of Divine Spirit. We give thanks for the opportunities we have in this caring community. Amen, and so it is. Amen, and so we let it be. Okay, let's go on now then to get on to saying the Unity Worldwide Ministries Foundation Statement. This is to be said in kind of a prayerful intention sort of way, as a spiritual affirmation, as we say it in every church, center, and temple of unity around the world. Let's say that together now. There is one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. All right, thank you. And then we're on to our Unity Church of Ames affirmation. Shall we say that together, please? Through the Christ Spirit in us, we create a better church and a better world. So be it. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you. And now we're on to the... Please be seated. Thank you. And now it's time again for the daily word reading. Liz White's going to come on up and read it today. Here we have it, all set up.
The word for today is intention. I pursue my intentions with faith, knowing all things are possible with God. Unity author H. Emily Cady wrote in Lessons in Truth, "Desire in the heart is always God tapping at the door of your consciousness. The thing you desire is not only for you, but has already been started toward you, out from the heart of God. I recognize my intentions are more than wishful thinking. They are a part of my purpose. Some may be long-term goals requiring years of study, focus, and actions. My daily intentions may include helping a friend who is experiencing a serious challenge. Following this call to serve, I know I will be divinely supported with the right words to say and the actions to take. I pursue my heartfelt intentions, for they are callings from Spirit, to do more and to be more. From Mark 10:27, Jesus looked at them and said, "For mortals it is impossible, but for God all things are possible."
Thank you, Liz White. Daily Word. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Please be seated. And now we're on to the lesson with Rev Deb. Come on up.
Rev's Deb, that's interesting. Okay. I'm feeling plural today. Whatever that is. Okay. I'm feeling very plural. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. This was a Sunday morning where just about everything that could go wrong did. So let's just get it all over in one Sunday. I'm good with that. How about y'all? Okay. Very, very good. Good morning, good morning. You know, thank you, Jim. He's back behind the scenes. We are so grateful. It seems like a while since I've been up here by myself, you know. I've been gone, and it's good to be back. Be here with you this morning. I want to tell you my retreat at Unity Village was wonderful. 4 days being quiet is exactly what I needed. And then I went to see my dad, who is now 89. And I'm just going to say it took beer and burgers to get him to be 89 and carrot cake. I suggested this wonderful salad restaurant called Sweet Tomatoes. And you know how you suggest something and people get sort of a funny look, like, really? He said, I know a good burger joint. And I said, okay, Dad, it's your birthday. When you're 89, you get to choose. And I finally rested up after our retreat last weekend. That was quite a wonderful experience. And I am so grateful to Reverend Elizabeth. We took her to Ryman Gardens, which she loved, and it was a gorgeous day, just unbelievably beautiful. And I have to say that she and all of the ministers who've come to do the retreats here have noticed something special about us. We do have a very special giving consciousness, a loving consciousness, and they have all noticed it. Reverend Judy, Reverend Robin, Reverend Carol, and now Reverend Elizabeth. And what that means to me, well, as Martha Creek would say, we're a pretty sweet little bonsai unity church. That's what we are. And as I reflect on it, what I realized is that we do make a difference. We do make a difference to the people who found us, and we are a church without walls. Here's the story. On my retreat at Unity Village, I came out on Sunday morning to load my car, and right next to me was an Iowa license plate and a woman loading her car. And she said, Rev Deb, you're the minister in Ames. I'm not anonymous, you know, my license plate says Rev Deb. She said, I watch you on YouTube all the time. And I said, really? Yeah, I love your church. I love your talks. I love your church. And I said, okay, wonderful. I'm so glad. By the way, we're having a retreat next weekend. You're welcome to join us. It's going to be at the Iowa Arboretum. She lives in Humboldt, Iowa. Eleanor, she came to the retreat. And she brought a friend. Hi, Eleanor, if you're watching today. We love you. Come see us anytime. So here's the deal. The second week we did this whole month of generosity, of kindness. It was about talent. So this is part of sharing that generosity of talent, and you never know where it's going to go, where it will land. We just let it flow. Today we conclude that series of the generosity, the gifts of generosity. And as Sally said on Tuesday, your kindness journal, that kindness practice, officially comes to an end. But I invite you to continue. I invite you to continue. And in November, if you want to use that journal for gratitude, just do that. Or if you haven't done 30 days of kindness, go ahead and do that. Because it's a gift that really keeps on giving. It gives to us. We began the month with the generosity of time with the question of what would it be like to invest our time in this practice of kindness, this practice of the generosity of kindness. And so I do want you to bring those notebooks, and I will bring mine, to share what has happened to us. We already know one story that Charlene had, but we can share all of our stories next week. So the theme today is the generosity of treasures, and all of this actually comes from 4T, time, talent, treasures, and tithes. That's a particular Unity program for prosperity, but we're taking it one Sunday at a time. And treasures is about sharing our wealth, sharing with our community from the abundance of our wealth. And we are an incredibly generous spiritual community. We tithe 10% of our monthly income, 10% and sometimes a little more. And we also give to Good Neighbor in addition to that as a charity. So we are a giving community. We give to Micah, we give to YSS through the stockings, we give to the Dream Seed Scholarship, Plant a Row, and the Ames Animal Shelter as part of our February Pounds for Hounds program. So we are a giving community. And what I want to share with you in this generosity of our treasures is how much good has come back to us as a result of stepping into that flow of giving and receiving. Because if you look in the back at the exit signs and you see the lights on the platform, that was the generosity of an electrician that Jim Trenberth knew, and Susan, and he wouldn't take any payment. He wouldn't take any payment for that. And he said, whatever you were going to give me, give it to your favorite charities. So we gave it to the Dream Seed. He wouldn't take payment, so it came back to us. Just this last Thursday, Spencer, Joanne's son, who doesn't come to church here, was on the roof. I've got a picture of it. It's on Facebook. Cleaning the gutters. The gutters are clean. And as I am, yay. I'm so grateful when the young people get on the roof, and I don't have to. And he was instrumental in the major haul out of the wet carpet on the weekend that we had the flood in the basement. Last weekend, we had a meeting of people in this community to discuss how we're going to clean up the basement and fix it up. And there were like 10 people there. Elizabeth said, wow, they really show up. I said, yes, they're invested. And they give of their treasure and their time. We had people who were family members, spouses, don't necessarily come to church, but they were willing to help. I learned the lesson of generosity from Reverend Patricia Bass when I was doing my internship at Unity Church of Overland Park. She was the senior minister there. And Unity Church of Overland Park gives away all kinds of things. They have shared music with me. I can contact Fred and I get music from him. Every lesson that they have for their children's program, and they have lots of children, is on their website. You can access those. There are all kinds of things that Unity Church of Overland Park just makes available. They operate on what is called a gift economy consciousness. A gift economy consciousness. They freely share all of those things with everyone. The ministers who have come here on retreat to do retreats with me also have come under that gift economy consciousness because we don't pay them. We don't pay them. We pay for their transportation, but we don't offer them compensation. We have tithe to them after the fact, however, but they don't know that that's happening before they arrive. So we are a participating in a gift economy consciousness here as well. What is a gift economy? It can best be described in contrast to a transaction economy. Now, a transaction economy is when you go to Hy-Vee and you got your groceries and you ring them up, you give them the card, or you swipe your card, and they bag your groceries and you pay for it. So it's a transaction. You are giving money for what you receive. It's a transaction. In that economy, we want to make sure we get the best value for our money. We don't want to be overcharged or shortchanged. When we borrow something, when we lend money or goods to someone, we expect to pay it back or have it paid back and have it returned. That's a transaction economy. When we borrow money, we expect to pay it back, and if we borrow something, we expect to return it. That is a transaction economy. Now, there's nothing wrong with a transaction economy. It isn't a gift economy, but there's nothing wrong with it. Many churches do operate on this. Many churches have a pledge card, and they have a pledge Sunday, and on that Sunday you have to write down how much money you're going to give for the year and how much you're going to give a week, and then you get numbered envelopes, and it's a whole transaction economy. Now, we in Unity don't do it that way. We don't do it that way. Unity Church of Ames, along with every Unity church I've ever been a part of, operates on a gift economy. A gift economy. What this means is that we are stepping into that flow of our good. We are stepping into a higher consciousness of affirming that everything we have comes from God. God is the source of all that we are and all that we have. And so we aren't in it as a transaction. We aren't in it. The amount that we give doesn't determine how much influence we have. The amount that we give doesn't determine how much say that we have in this spiritual community, because we don't operate that way. No one can outgive God. And the Christ is the head of this church, and the Christ is the primary influencer of this spiritual community. We actually practice greed, and greed is an antidote to fear, an antidote to hoarding, and an antidote to greed. We participate in what's called the law of circulation. And you can't take from the universe. So we participate in this law of giving and receiving, freely giving and freely receiving without worrying about how much, how little, and so on. How much we're getting, are we getting as much as we gave? All of that can drop away. Because friends, as soon as we start worrying about that, we get our hearts and our heads in a metaphysical knot. Right? It is just a dead end. A dead end. Spiritually, it doesn't open us up to receive all the good that is there. It doesn't open our hearts to all that is there. So when we participate in this giving economy and we create a giving ecology, the sun comes out. Even more good comes to us again and again and again. Now, there's a parable that Jesus told about this whole process of giving and receiving. A parable can best be described as an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. And Jesus told a lot of those kind of stories. It's like Aesop's fables, it's like children's stories. There were stories that Jesus told so that the people would understand the message and connect it to something that they understood. A couple of weeks ago, Sue did a talk about forgiveness, which is at the heart of that whole giving and receiving process. And so I'm going to continue in that same chapter of Matthew about the parable of the unforgiving servant. And I'm going to read it to you. It's Matthew 19:23 through 35. So it's kind of a long story, but it really makes the point. For this reason, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his slaves. When he began the reckoning, the one who owed him 10,000 talents, which is like $10,000, was brought to him. And as he could not pay, his lord ordered him to be sold, together with his wife and children and all his possessions, and payment to be made. So the slave fell on his knees before him, saying, "Have patience with me, and I will pay you everything." And out of pity for him, the lord of the slave released him and forgave him the debt. But that same slave, as he went out, came upon one of his fellow slaves who owed him 100 denarii, like $100, and seizing him by the throat said, "Pay what you owe." And then his fellow slave fell down and pleaded with him, "Have patience with me, I will pay you." But he refused. He then went and threw him into prison until he would pay the debt. When his fellow slaves saw what had happened, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported this to their lord, all that had taken place. Then his lord summoned him and said to him, "You wicked slave, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. Should you not have had mercy on your fellow slave as I had mercy on you?" And in anger, his lord handed him over to be tortured until he would pay the entire debt. So my heavenly Father will also do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother or sister from your heart. Woo! I know, sounds really heavy, doesn't it? But here's the deal. Here's the deal. It's a parable. And the very first line in this parable is, "For this reason the kingdom of heaven may be compared to." That is Jesus telling us, here's the setup, guys. If you want to live in a consciousness of the Christ, if you want to live in that place of peace, in that kingdom of heaven, in that heavenly consciousness, this is how it works. This is how it works. And this parable lays out how it works and how it doesn't. It's a really wonderful contrast of how it works and how it doesn't work. The slave asks forgiveness, and the Christ consciousness says, "Yes, yes, I forgive you all of that debt. What you owe me, it's done. Let's start over. Let's begin anew." And when we do that, that gives us true peace and joy and true prosperity. It affirms the flow of good. The slave has been forgiven, but does he get it? Doesn't really land, does it? Because when you are forgiven, when you are experiencing being forgiven, it brings you back into alignment with that Christ consciousness within yourself. That's what happens when we experience really being forgiven by someone, or forgiving ourselves. It brings us back into that consciousness. But this guy, did he realize the powerful gift he'd been given? I don't think so. Because he went right out, turned around, and did exactly the opposite of what had been shown to him, the kindness, compassion, and mercy that had been shown to him. And then what happens? Because there's not an end to the story right there. Because word gets back to the Christ consciousness, right? Right? We have this Christ consciousness that is always calling us higher. Word gets back to that. And so the guy is now in this conflict, this inner conflict. If we take it metaphysically, when we are out of alignment with our Christ consciousness, with our higher consciousness, what does it do to us? Well, I can't think of anything more torturing than keeping track of every little thing that you did for somebody and expecting to keep the balance sheets exactly even, and wanting and demanding that it be done unto you according to how you did it for someone else. I think that is a form of torture. I think it is a form of suffering that is that we don't recognize all the time, but sometimes we're there. We're there. And letting go, sometimes when we forgive somebody, we want to say, but I want them to know it mattered. The deal is, you're the one who needs to know. The forgiveness happens for you, so you don't get in that tortured box of keeping score, of holding the grudge. I can't think how much easier it is to get out of that victim consciousness than to practice kindness and forgiveness. I can't imagine to share of my treasures. Because if I stay in that unfairness box, I see everything through that lens. And I'm always calculating to keep score. And I have met people who are caught in that wheel of misfortune. And I would much rather be caught in the wheel of good fortune. I would much rather be in the wheel of good fortune. Now, what does this look like in real time? Well, it doesn't mean that you accept the short end of the stick all of the time. It doesn't mean that you take abuse. It doesn't mean that you put all of your energy into, or that you accept mistreatment. What it does mean is that you don't put your energy into worrying about how things are going to work out and if you're going to get what you need or what you feel you have coming to you. I have been in so many lines in my life where I wasn't in this line. This isn't what I was expecting, and yet every one of those lines brought a gift. So when we bless what we have, no matter how little, and we're willing to give from what we have, then we enter that consciousness of the Christ, that kingdom of heaven. So what does this look like in real time? Well, there are two stories. One story I got from the ULab, which is this course I'm taking online, and it's about creating the gift ecology, and it was about a rickshaw driver who decided to no longer charge people for giving them rides. No longer charge them. And he said, I'll take it, you just pay me what you think it's worth. And he actually received more money that way, and gifts, and appreciation, and gratitude. And there were people who paid him more, and they made up for the people who said, I can't pay you anything. He said, I'll take you anyway. His income was greater in that gift economy of giving and receiving. And then this was a message or a story from a Unity minister, an older couple who were on a fixed income, retired. And they worried a lot about living on that retirement income. Could they do that? The minister challenged them to experiment with no strings giving, tithing. Over time, they began to do that, and they began to experience the generosity of treasures. Somebody gave them 2 tickets to fly to Florida. Somebody else gave them part of the timeshare that they had to spend 2 weeks in Florida. They began receiving all kinds of gifts just like that because they had stepped into that energy of sharing the treasures, the divine flow of that gift economy. They had stepped out of fear. They had stepped out of that lack of consciousness into the divine law of circulation. Friends, you cannot outgive God, no matter how hard you try. You cannot outgive God. So I invite us all to step into that generosity of treasure and then just see what happens. See what happens in your life. So we're going to sing into meditation. Pour yourself in me. And the next line with the words. There we go. He's still back there. Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Oh, and open your heart. Last week we did that breathing to slow the pace of your mind to the pace of your heart. So I invite you to breathe in and then just breathe out. Slowing the pace of your mind to the pace of your heart. And as you connect with that energy of the heart, step into that flow of the gift ecology, the gift economy that says, I am part of this continual flow of good. I am part of this economy of giving without any strings. I give freely of my treasure, my time and my talent. And I am so grateful for all that has come back to me. I am so blessed in being empowered to step into that giving consciousness. In the faith that everything I need is always provided. And whatever anyone owes me, I just let it go. Let it go, knowing that in that bigger gift economy, it all comes into divine order and divine balance. So let us sit with that sense of being in that divine balance, in that gift economy of giving and receiving, as we sit for a moment in the silence. We come back to this time and this place, refreshed and restored, singing once more, pour your life in me. Pour your life in me. Pour your life into my heart. Amen. And so it is, and so we let it be. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us.